Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports show for November 15th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric and I am the man behind Etoft21sports. You can find my work on Twitter at Etoft21, on Instagram at Etoft21sports _ and on TikTok at Etoft21. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. We have a phenomenal show lined up for you today. My boy Sterling from Silver Star Sports is going to be stopping by. Him and I are going to be talking about week 10 of the NFL, telling you what bets to lock in for week 11. Also, my boy Gino, he's going to be telling you what horse racing bet to lock in tomorrow at Churchill Downs. But before you jump into all that, I got to pump the sponsor of the show, PointsBet. If you're looking for a dependable sports book, download the PointsBet app. Use promo code ETOFT21, that's ETOFT21, and you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $2,000. Great offer, very dependable book. I've never had an issue with them. Probably the book I bet from the most. Now, let's jump in. Let's see what Gino's got cooking for us tomorrow at Churchill Downs.
This week's best bet comes at Churchill Downs on Wednesday. We're going to look at race number 8. Like always, we're diving into the DRF past performances. If you ever need help handicapping the races, head to drf.com. You can take a look at everything you need, pedigree information, workout stuff, trainer, jockey, statistics. And for me, it's always the race replays that are key. I'm going to look at the number 8 here, Flying Bessie. Comes off of a runner-up in the debut. That was over at Colonial. Flying Bessie's the 9 in this race. That was a pretty good effort. First time out of the box. This was back on September the 6th. Let's take a look at this race from Colonial, and we're looking at the number 9 horse on this race replay here. So she starts, and she's in a pretty good spot. She's sitting about 4th, maybe 2 or 3 lengths off. So she's the 9 right here. You can see she's right up on the outside of the 7. She'll settle there about 4th. And then she, in sort of the next quarter, to quarter mile or so, she drops back in between horses, and she loses a bit of ground, loses a bit of positioning, kind of green in the debut. Remember, this was just the first time start for her. So she drops back, she loses a little bit, but once she's asked, again, I thought she responded pretty well. She's going to start looking for some room right here, and it looks like she has to alter course a couple different times. So, again, we're keeping an eye on the 9. She's moving up into contention right now in between horses, and she looks like she's going to try to angle around and in between, and then that rival kind of drifts out, and the other one shifts in, and that spot gets closed. So then she has to kind of wait and angle around again afterwards. I thought a pretty good performance, all being said. And what I really liked, late in the race, it just feels like the 9 is starting to finally get into that best stride. So Flying Bessie getting into her best stride late, showing some of that late energy. I think that sets her up very well for career start number 2 right here. Also, she has a nice little pedigree too. You look at the Dam, was an 8-time winner. The Dam was a multiple stakes winner when you go through the entire career, and was related to some other nice ones here. You take a look at a horse like Forewarned, who earned $937,000, was a multiple stakes winner, and even all the other siblings are multiple winners. So lots of little things to like. This one obviously has a great barn, and on connections alone is a very strong play. You have the good replay in the debut. You have pedigree to go off of. Checks so many boxes for you here. That's Churchill Downs Wednesday, race number 8. Make sure you tune in every week. We'll have a horse racing play for you. You'll get all the best information in sports from my buddy Eric. Good luck this week.
Guys and girls, make sure you please give my boy Gino a follow on Twitter at It's Me Gino B. I'm on his podcast every single week talking NFL. After NFL, we'll transition. We'll talk a little NBA. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome one of the first people I ever did work with. He was one of the first to come on my podcast, a true friend, always there when I ask him to go on my podcast or come on here, really knows his stuff. Let's welcome my boy Sterling from Silver Star Sports to the show. Sterling, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to be back on the show. I know it's been a minute, but I'm excited to talk some football and see what your thoughts are.
You know what? A lot of stuff going on with football. My boy Bobby, right away, coming out hot how much do I hate Wright State? I hate Wright State a lot. Let me tell you. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I hate Wright State. I have lost 2 games this year by half a point betting in college basketball. Both of them involved Wright State. I had Wright
Already.
State plus 4.5 against, oh my God, Davidson. They lost by 5 in overtime. And then I had Bowling Green tonight plus 8.5. Line closed at 6. I beat the market by 2.5 points. Line closed at 6. I got them at 8.5 off openers. They lost by 9.
Gosh.
So yeah, I'm
bad beats already.
you know what? I'm not I am not a I'm not a Wright State type of guy. But Brightside has NAA86 points out. My boys at Michigan State got it done, dude. My boys got it done. That was good to see. We'll transition. We'll talk a little more NBA and college, later on. Right now, this is a meat and potato show with NFL. How the show works for people first tuning in. We give 3 takeaways from the previous week, and then we look to give 3 bets going into the next week. So let's start it out. Sterling, what's your first take from this previous week in the NFL?
So I first like to point out Jalen Hurts. Probably not the best week to point him out, although because the Eagles finally lost. But just his development this year has been so great to see. Let's rewind the clock back to 2017. Jalen Hurts had 17 touchdowns, 1 interception, he had 8 rushing touchdowns, and then they get to the national championship and he loses his job on national TV in front of everyone. Tua Tagovailoa comes in, throws that game-winning touchdown. Fast forward to 2018, he's now the backup. He patiently waits his turn, steps in, wins Bama the SEC championship game. He transfers away, and if you remember, he wasn't on the NFL radar at that moment. But then he just worked his ass off, became a Heisman finalist, played his way into the second round of the NFL draft. 2020, he's not that good of a quarterback. He only completes 52% of his passes, with a 33.8 QBR. Next year, works his ass off again, leads the Eagles to the playoff, 61 completion percentage, 48.5 QBR. And then this year, he's an MVP candidate and has one of the best records in the NFL. So just the development of Jalen Hurts has been something that's phenomenal to see, and just a real storyline to follow.
Hey, when I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. I thought he was a terrible draft pick by the Eagles, but as someone that is heavily invested in an Eagles 30-1 future, I love what I'm seeing from him. And it's amazing what can happen to the confidence and the development of a young quarterback when you get a true number 1 wide receiver in A.J. Brown and you get a phenomenal offensive line and a good running game. It's just absolutely phenomenal what can happen when all that stuff comes together. And I love to see it. He's a great kid, good story. And you definitely felt for him when he got benched in that national championship game.
Yeah, so many kids would have hung their head, not rooted their team on, but you see the leadership all the way from back then, and it's carried on today. So.
I was trying to find my tweet when you sent me what your takeaway was on this, because I tweeted out he's going to make a good offensive coordinator, and I think I said a good offensive coordinator at Cal one day. That was my tweet about Jalen Hurts. So I wish I could find that because I was completely wrong. Tori, like to think you're here. Like to thank you for checking out the program. Appreciate you. My first takeaway: Frank Wright was the problem in Indy. If you listen to anything that I've come out with, I've never been a Frank Wright guy. I don't think he's that good of a coach. I thought as soon as they lost that game to get into the playoffs, which is the Jaguars, I thought he lost the locker room. I thought he needed to go. A couple weeks ago, Ellinger gets to start. Everything I've heard from that came from Irsay. Wright just said yes to save his job. Saturday comes in, and what does he do? Benches Erlinger because he wasn't ready. Anyone who knows football could tell he wasn't ready. Goes with the veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan. And then he also, and I've been on Wright for this forever, he gave Jonathan Taylor the ball over 20 times. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me how little Wright used Jonathan Taylor. There was big games last year against Tennessee where he wasn't giving him 15 touches, and I don't understand Wright's thought process by not giving Taylor the ball more. Did you know that game last week was the first time that they had 30 rushing attempts in a game this year?
Shocking. That's shocking.
since week one. You know what I mean? So, I just don't know what's going on with Wright, and it just shows you Saturday comes in and he just used a common sense approach, used a veteran quarterback, and gave the best player the ball the most that he did all season, and you win the game. Kind of crazy how that stuff works out.
Yeah, I think for years, Frank Reich and Chris Ballard have been given the benefit of the doubt by a lot of NFL fans.
Mhm.
But really, they've missed on a lot of key positions. They don't have a wide receiver. They haven't had a long-term quarterback. We always praised their O-line for so many years, but now that tackle situation looks like a mess. So it's really time to start pointing the finger at the higher-ups in Indianapolis because they're not in a good spot right now.
And I have to say, man, I was doing this No Shave November. I mean, this goddamn beard adds about. I look like I'm like old as hell. I am not this goddamn old. I need to shave this shit, dude. So I'm definitely gonna shave this shit because I look like an old ass man right now. Sterling, second takeaway. Talk to me.
The Packers missed their window. It's really frustrating. I can only imagine being a Packers fan. I'm frustrated for looking on the outside in, but I can only imagine being a Packers fan. You've had 16 seasons of Brett Favre, 17 seasons of Aaron Rodgers, and 2 Super Bowls to show for it. And get this, they missed out on Chase Claypool, Brandon Cooks, and DJ Moore on this trade deadline. Rewind back to 2019, Allen Robinson was almost a Packer. In 2020, Brandon Ayuk and Justin Jefferson, they almost traded up for them. In 2021, they almost got OBJ. We're hearing the same story time and time again. I think it's finally catching up to the Packers how badly they've misjudged the wide receiver position. And I think Brian Gutekunst deserves so much blame for all that's happened. Think about his recent draft picks. They drafted Jordan Love, backup quarterback, AJ Dillon, a backup quarterback, or a backup running back, sorry. Josh Myers ahead of Creed Humphrey, who might be one of the best centers in the NFL. Josiah Deguara in the 3rd round. They drafted Quay Walker, who's probably wasn't even the best linebacker in his class. They drafted Devontae Wyatt, who's a 24-year-old defensive tackle. And they drafted Christian Watson, who had a great game last week. I'll give him all credit in the world. But at the end of the day, I think that was a great game. I don't think he's going to be that for the rest of the season. So really frustrated at the Packers and how they've handled this whole situation.
And it's almost like that was the first game where they figured out they had Aaron Jones back there. And you know what? I agree. I'm not the biggest Packers fan, but you know what they did for me last week, buddy? They hit that plus 5.5. So I was a Packers fan last week. Yeah. I mean, I just don't know what LaFleur is doing. I don't know what Rodgers is doing. He just needs to get out of town. He just needs to get out of town. Now, let me ask you this. If you were to keep playing, what's a team you could see him going for? Because I have the team lined up where I could see him at.
I know in Tennessee, or he was looking at real estate in Tennessee. A couple of Titans fans were saying that might happen, but I'm not really sure where he'd end up.
I mean, New England. I mean, to me, like, you know what I mean? Belichick's not going to take that stuff. Belichick would put him in check. Belichick got Randy Moss in check. Got Josh Gordon in check.
Hardest in the world.
He's gotten some guys in check. I think, he can get Aaron Rodgers in check. To me, that makes the most sense for him to go there if he wants to keep playing. Yes, my beard does connect. I am an adult. My beard is full and everything. My second takeaway, and this is a future bet, and I love making these future bets. And I'm sorry, because I know you're rocking a Giants jersey right now, my man. Giants not to make the playoffs plus 300. Per tankathon.com, they have the hardest remaining schedule. Games remaining against the teams with a winning record. They have 2 against the Eagles, 2 against the Commanders, 1 against the Vikings, 1 against the Cowboys. Cowboys do already own the tiebreaker with them. And then 2 games, 1 against the Lions, 1 against the Colts. Both those teams are playing a lot better, going to be tough outs. And there's these couple websites that you use, and they're called luck rankings. Giants are on the top of both of them. So they're due for some negative regression, the ball not to bounce their way, some turnover luck to go the other way. We saw that last night with Philadelphia when all those turnovers went against them. So I'm going to play the Giants to kind of fall apart in the second half. I think not to make the playoffs at plus 300 is a great future.
Yeah. Although I'm a Giants fan, I'm a realistic Giants fan. I think we've sort of overachieved to start the year, and we have a tough second half of the year schedule. We don't have a whole lot of wide receivers to throw to, so I'm hoping OBJ can come back home as I rock that OBJ jersey.
Cool.
But honestly, the Giants could win like 2 or 3 more games, and this has been a successful season. We found out Brian Dable is the guy. Saquon looks as good as ever, and so I think we have a lot of positive stuff moving forward. But yeah, as far as making the playoffs, it's just a tough route. So I think being realistic, that's a good bet at those odds, especially.
I love it. I love that bet. So I'm helping you on this gambling jersey, my man. That's one you got to lock in, bro. Third and final takeaway. What you got?
Third and final takeaway. I just wanted to give a quick check-in on all the second-year QBs. I know people love to talk about that. Let's start with Justin Fields. What are your thoughts on Fields?
They are doing the same thing with him that the Eagles did with Hurts last year. They're running the ball a lot more. They're limiting his looks, and they're saying if nothing's there, just take it and run. So they're putting him in a position to be successful and get confidence, and it's shown in the last 2 weeks with his level of play.
Yeah, I'd say with these second-year QBs, the goal is you want to know that that person is the guy. You don't want him to have to be looking for a quarterback so early. So Justin Fields, I feel like he's definitely done that. He looks like the guy there. He's starting to get more and more comfortable. Obviously, he still has to develop as a passer, but he's starting to figure it out. So really liking what I'm seeing from him. From Trevor Lawrence, he had 23 interceptions last year. This year, I think I looked it up, and he only has 6 right now. So he's taking much better care of the football. He's not playing hero ball, trying to make all these different throws. I think next year when they get Calvin Ridley and a true perimeter receiver for him, that he's going to be much better. So I think he's on the right track as well. Thoughts on Lawrence?
I think we have to treat this like his first year because it's the first year he's getting coaching. Urban Meyer is a awful NFL coach, and he got no coaching at all. I think we need to treat this like his rookie year.
Yeah. Moving on to Mac Jones. If you switched this year and his rookie year, then I think that'd be fine. But I think the rookie year set the expectations so high for him that he was due to regress to the mean a little bit. It was definitely concerning at the start of the year, but hopefully with a little bit of an easier schedule, he'll start to figure himself out a little bit. So
Mac Jones is Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator. He's done. I'm just being honest. It shows me that the Patriots didn't do the right stuff with the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, and we're not seeing work that should have been done in the offseason with Jones for him taking that next step. Teams have more film on him. I blame the coaching situation more than anything else on Jones.
Completely understand. As far as Davis Mills, I feel for the guy because he's done a decent job, all things considered. But it just seems like the Texans are destined to get one of the top quarterbacks this year. He just doesn't have the physical tools of like a Lawrence or a Fields or the IQ and accuracy of a guy like Mac Jones. But still definitely a solid player, but just it seems like the writing's on the wall for him.
I have 3 autographed jerseys right here. One of them is my boy Longneck. I'm the Longneck believer. I don't think Pep Hamilton's doing him any favors with the offensive play calling. Obviously, Brandon Cooks wants to get out of town. He's really disappointed he didn't trade him. I think there's something developing between him and Nico Collins. I think they have something going on there.
They have a good connection.
Years. And I think with the fact they got rid of Esterby, the guy in the front office, I think this team's trending in the right direction. But dude, if you have the top pick and you have a chance to take Bryce Young, you got to take it. You got to take Bryce Young. So I think you're right. I think he's out of a job next year, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's unfortunately a lame duck. Trey Lance, we can't really comment on him.
I can comment on him. His throwing motion sucks. He passed the ball. He holds on the ball too long. He hasn't played football, and him not playing football is going to cost him. And it was an awful trade what the 49ers did.
Yeah. I'm still jury's out until I see him play some extended snaps, but I understand where you're coming from. And lastly, Zach Wilson. I'm not feeling confident at all if I'm the Jets. Like, think back to his college tape. He would run around, hold on to the ball, improvise, and then make these back shoulder throws to Dax Milne. In the NFL, he's not going to be able to fit those tight window throws, and we're seeing that. His best game he's played all year was the Bills game, and that's because they literally game planned to get the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible. So I'm just not feeling confident if I'm the Jets right now, and I really hope they don't waste like Garrett Wilson and that young, talented core that they have.
Yes, that is the MILF Hunter. I'm not feeling Wilson either. Some of this post-game comments, I really think that's the weakness of the team. The quarterback position. This team's in a position to make the playoffs. They're doing way better than I thought I could have done. And if they want to take that next step, I think they need a better quarterback. I don't think Wilson is the guy at all. Kind of reminds me is Gino Bacala, who I do a lot of work with. You know, Gino, he was doing the horse racing stuff. He compares him to Johnny Manziel. And I think that's the best comparison I've heard. My third takeaway, okay? The Vikings-Bills game was entertaining, but it wasn't a well-played game. The game had 6 turnovers, bad turnovers, up 10, 4th and 2, take the field goal, up 13. Why are you going for it? Just take the points, go up 13, force them to get 2 scores. Then at the end of the game, Dalvin Cook, surefire TD, no one's around him, drops the ball. Then Vikings lose the ball, lose the ball, turnover on downs. Allen, all he needs to do is just fall forward. I have never, in all my years of watching football, investing in football, I have never seen a play where a quarterback just fumbled the snap like that. I have never seen that happen. And it just wasn't a well-played game. Vikings end up scoring. Then they allow them to drive all the way down to score again. It just wasn't that well played of the game. I think there was 3 bad mistakes in that game, 6 turnovers. And I'm going to say this, Allen lost the MVP in that game. He totally lost the MVP in that game. If you watched week 1, I gave out Mahomes, I believe at 12-1 to win MVP. I think it's Mahomes is to loss now. I think Allen totally lost in that game. And here's an interesting future for you, my friend. Allen is turning over the ball a lot, especially with his interceptions. He actually leads the league in interceptions. And you know what? This is when I'm going to show you guys the money, as Misty is saying. Josh Allen to lead the league in interceptions is plus 555 right now on one sportsbook. I think that's great value. Low risk, high reward at those odds. Lock in Allen, plus 550, most interceptions in the league. What do you think about that, my friend?
I think that's a good bet. He has so many turnover-worthy plays each week, and it's starting to show shades of rookie Josh Allen. Like, obviously, he's developed and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, but he's still making those errant mistakes that we saw rookie Josh Allen make. So it's super interesting. Going back to the Vikings-Bills game, I know a lot of people have said that's the game of the year. So do you disagree with that statement?
I think it was an entertaining game. I don't think it was a well-played game. You know what I mean? Like, do you define game of the year as like an entertaining game? Or do you define it as a well-played game? Yeah, that's been the most entertaining game of the year. Okay. But it wasn't a well-played game just because of the mistakes that were made.
What are your quick thoughts on the Vikings before we move on?
They're the luckiest team in the NFL. I mean, like, let's just go through their season. Okay, week 1, they played the Packers without their 2 starting tight ends, and first game without Adams, and Lazard was banged up. So no true number 1 there. Week 2, what they do? They got boat raced by the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Week 3, if Campbell doesn't coach like he's playing Madden football, they lose. They were down by 10 to my Lions. They played the Saints and a bunch of backups in England. They needed a double doink on a field goal not to go to overtime. Waddle and the fumbles. Waddle had 2 fumbles inside the 30, and they were driving down to take the lead, and then the wheels fell off. There's just been a lot of games like that. Every single game has been like that. Every single game they won has been one possession. I think they're due for some regression.
Yeah, they're 7-0 in games decided by 8 points or less, which is absolutely unheard of. I
It's
don't expect that to continue. Even though the NFC is pretty wide open this year, I don't trust them yet to make a deep run.
And no, the Allen bet is for the season long. So you have to look at player futures and then click in interception leader and go Allen to have the most interceptions for the season. That is a future bet. So you have to wait for the season over. Now it's everyone's favorite part of the show. This is where we make the money. This is where we talk some bets. We're each going to give 3 bets. Sterling, what is your first bet of the day?
My first bet of the day is going to be Patriots money line over the Jets. Both teams are coming off a bye week, but the bye week, in my opinion, favors the better coach because they have more time to prepare. So that's obviously Belichick, in my opinion. Give him 2 weeks to study Zach Wilson, and he's going to make him look worse than he did in the first time they played. I think the Patriots roll in this one. They've also won 13 straight against the Jets. And I think the Jets, it's going to take a couple years for them to beat the Patriots.
I agree 100%. I would even be tempted to lay the 3, man, to be honest with you. I'd even be tempted to lay the points here. I'm not the biggest Jets fan at all with Zach Wilson. We already talked about it. My first bet, you ready to get dirty? We talked about him before. My boy, long neck Davis Mills. Give me the Houston Texans plus 3.5. NFL is all about betting week to week, buying teams when they're low, selling teams when they're high. And this is a perfect situation of that. This is the highest value that the Commanders have been all season after that win on prime time against the Eagles for giving the Eagles their first loss. Now you look at teams on a low. Texans have lost 4 games against the spread. Teams in this situation who have lost 4 games in a row, ATS, and are at home are 55% against the spread in this situation. So it shows kind of how they're undervalued and can buy them at a low point. And then something's happened ever since Sirianni has taken over for the Eagles. They do this physical that we talked about, run heavy approach, control the point of contact, make it a physical game. What does that do to the opposing team? It beats them up. Teams after playing the Eagles in the Sirianni era, 35% ATS. They're just physically beaten going into the next game. You know, you have a physical runner in Dameon Pierce. It looked like Mills and Nico Collins are starting to get a little bit of connection. I absolutely love the Texans. As soon as it got over 3, I locked in the 3.5. And I think the fact it's how it went automatically back down to that 3 kind of tells you where the sharp money is on. Texans, anything over 3 is a buy. Give me the Texans plus 3.5.
Completely agree on that. I think the great teams in the league are able to stay focused week to week. I don't think the Commanders are one of the great teams. I think they had their high against the Eagles. I think they're going to be overlooking the lowly Texans, who are 1-7-1. So I think this is a great value for the Texans. They're at home. They're going to run the ball with Dameon Pierce, slow the game down. Also, Taylor Heineke, he's the definition of an inconsistent quarterback. So I don't know if he's going to play as well as he did yesterday.
And also, this is their 3rd road game in 4 weeks. I absolutely love fading them because that's a lot of travel on these professional athletes. Sterling, second bet. What you got, big dog?
Second bet I have Steelers money line over the Bengals. Mike Tomlin is absolutely great as an underdog. And for some reason, he always plays well against the Bengals, the Steelers do. And they've won 7 of their last 8 games as home underdogs. Kenny Pickett finally played well in his last game. Najee Harris finally had a good game. I think they win a tight one against the Bengals.
Yeah, I love it here. And just to piggyback your point, you mentioned Tomlin. You ready to get blown away?
Yeah.
65% ATS as a dog, 83% ATS as a home dog. And I think one thing that's going to happen is we're going to see the Steelers defense get back to where it was last year with TJ Watt coming back. Because what does that do? It makes the offensive line focus on Watt and allows holes for Highsmith, Jack, Hayward to get to the quarterback. I absolutely love this. I have this at 5. I
Yeah.
got the Steelers at +5. I absolutely love this bet.
Anytime you get a leader of your defense like TJ Watt back, it's going to emotionally boost the entire team. So I think they come out with a vengeance, ready to play. I really like that bet.
I love it. My second bet is one of my favorite coaches to fade as a favorite, take as a dog. The guy that the Lions should have hired instead of Matt Patricia. Give me Mike Vrabel. 64% ATS as a dog, 58% ATS as a road dog. We all know what the Titans are going to do. They're going to turn around. They're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. The Packers are giving up 123.4 yards per game in the rushing game to opposing teams. And they're, per Football Outsiders, they're 30th DVOA. So they're the third worst team defending the run. I think the Packers are going to really struggle to stop Henry. I think that's going to open stuff up. Tannehill's getting healthier and healthier, coming back. And the Packers are coming off an emotional win in OT over the Cowboys. So I think this value, I don't understand how the Packers are favored here because they can't stop the run. I absolutely love the Titans. I locked it in at 3. One shop has it at 3.5. Anything 3 or higher, I absolutely love. I think the Titans actually straight up win the game.
Yeah, when the lines came out, I was honestly surprised to see that the Packers were the favorite. I know they were able to have a good game against Cowboys last week, but I don't think they've turned the corner on their season yet. I don't think Christian Watson is going to be this number 1 wide receiver for the rest of the year. I don't think they figure out the passing game. I think Derrick Henry's going to beat them down in the run game, which they've struggled with this year.
Now,
Lock it in.
Let me ask you this. Is Vrabel the new Belichick?
Yeah, I think so. I think well-coached team has his set way that he does things, kind of coaches the same way. I think he is. Obviously, he's got to win more to be efficient.
I mean, like, he doesn't have like the Brady or the star, but like he's getting by with just Tannehill and Henry. You know what I mean? So, third and final bet.
Third and final bet. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers +12 against the Ravens. I feel like the Baltimore Ravens are one of those teams that plays according to their competition. Time and time again, they've done that. In the last 7 games, the Ravens played at home. The underdogs covered the spread. And then get this, 10 of the last 12 games, the Ravens' point total has gone under. So that suggests to me that it's going to be a close, low-scoring game, and the Ravens struggle with the Panthers. So +12 is a super big one.
Yeah, Ravens always struggle against these higher teams. And no, Baker Mayfield is not my favorite player. I cannot stand Baker Mayfield. I despise Baker Mayfield. I think he's an awful quarterback. I've said it since he came into the league. When the Browns made him the top pick, one reporter tweeted out something positive. I was like, why is he the number 1 pick? Like, he's not that good. And like, they went on and said I didn't know anything. And now look it. He doesn't even make it to his second contract. You know what I mean? Like, he got ran out of Cleveland. And now he's backing up PJ Walker, and he's only starting because PJ Walker got hurt. Baker Mayfield is a bad quarterback. But I like this bet, though. I really do like this bet just because I think the Panthers with Marshall, who's my new favorite player, Terrence Marshall, new favorite player,
Okay.
DJ Moore and Foreman are going to be able to move the ball. I think they'll be able to move the ball on them. So I like this bet. Anything over 10, I totally invest in this. My third and final bet. Okay. You ready? Are you ready to get blown away?
Yeah. Bet on me.
Cards +7.5. You can get it some shops at 8. Cliff Kingsbury. This is being played in Mexico, so a road game, right? 80% ATS as a road dog, 69% as a dog in general.
80%.
80% as a road dog. Now, against coaches that haven't won a Super Bowl, okay? Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl, right? He is 64% ATS against coaches that have not won a Super Bowl. Against coaches that have won a Super Bowl, low 30s, okay? But coaches that haven't, 64%. Flip side, you have Shanahan, 38% ATS is a favorite. As a 7-point favorite or more, that drops down to 33%. Jimmy G is a favorite, 43%. The Cardinals' run game defense isn't as bad as people think it is. They're only giving up 87 yards per game. I think Watt and this defensive line is going to be able to get Jimmy G, make him a little bit uncomfortable. And plus, this is a divisional dog getting over a touchdown. This is what I'm all about. And I think this line is a little inflated because people still think it's going to be Colt McCoy. I think it's going to be Murray. I think once Murray is announced as a starter, this line is going to drop immensely. I'll take the Cardinals plus the 7.5 right now. I'll lock it in because I think Murray's playing. It's going to drop. And the numbers and the trend support it.
This is the only one I'm not super sure about. I just feel like the 49ers match up well with the Cardinals. The jury's out on Kingsbury, Murray, that whole franchise as a whole, and everything Steve Keim's done with the team. But yeah, you definitely have the numbers and the data to back it up. But I don't know. In Mexico City, I think they'll have a lot of San Francisco fans. I think that's basically going to be like a home game for the 49ers, given how big their brand is. So I don't know. I don't know about that one, but we'll see.
I mean, it's an interesting bet, and I kind of like it. You have to get grimy, and like, dude, that's what I do, man. I get grimy, dude. You know, I get grimy.
You got the stats. You got the stats to back it up. So
that's what I do, man. Sterling, always a blast. Love having you on. You know, really looking forward to getting you to come on more once you have some more free time going on. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram at SilverStar Sports, SilverStar_sports. Haven't been too active recently. I just recently started a new career, but getting my feet underneath me, and I'm looking forward to posting more. I also plan on starting a TikTok because I think it will just be easier to get quick takes out there on what I'm seeing in the sports world. So be on the lookout for that. Plan on announcing that pretty soon. And then also I plan on showing my face more for this show. So always happy to be here. Got a great team.
Hey, man, you know, always look forward to having you on. Always enjoy when you're coming on. Guys and girls, please make sure you give Sterling a follow. Definitely knows his stuff. And he's the master of the NBA. There's a lot of NBA stuff happening, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Excited to talk about that soon. So, yeah.
So until next week, boys and girls, Sterling, thanks for coming on. We'll talk soon, everybody.